That was the Game Awards. Before we dive deep into everything, one of the biggest reveals of the show was OD, the new game from Kojima Productions. Let's take another look at the trailer and break this all down. So this is finally what Kojima's been working on with Xbox and their cloud technology. We knew it was going to be something kind of horror themed. What was, Destin, give me your first impressions of this one.
Yes, so before this was revealed, we saw Hellblade, and my first thought was the character technology to develop the faces and animation is just so good. We were talking about how much y'all liked Alan Wake 2, and one of that game's biggest strengths is just how much detail is in the character. And now we have Kojima coming along and just doing this stunning animation work to tease OD, whatever it may be.
So wait, I guess we need to clarify this. You think this is animation?
This is definitely, this is 100% animation. This is using the Unreal Engine 5 MetaHuman. It's this super cool thing you can find in Unreal that has these ultra realistic models for characters that you can kind of plaster on real faces and kind of like adjust in development. But yeah, this looks fantastic. Like this reminds me of like way back in the day when LA Noir first came out, and it was like, oh my goodness, look how good these facial animations are. And that's what I think OD is going to do as well. I think it's going to be that next kind of stepping stone.
There's a little bit more context on the website. Sorry, Kat. OD explores the concept of testing your fear threshold. So.
Meanwhile, Hideo Kojima just flexing, bringing in as many stars as he possibly can. Sophia Lillis, Dungeons & Dragons. Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, and Udo Kier, Flesh for Frankenstein. And he just is trying to rob everybody in Hollywood and bring them into his various projects. He got Jordan Peele to come on stage.
And he announced that he said
I'm burying the lead. Holy cow.
I know, and he said he's got like a team of like Avengers, basically, a bunch of other people that are coming in and collaborating.
But
so, like,
also Jordan Peele shouting out Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yes.
And saying that was a huge inspiration and saying Hideo Kojima is incredible.
So we know it's a game, but also a movie and also a new form of media. Can we make any guesses as to what this is going to be?
It's when he came up with a new genre, right? Sure. You said, it's a brand new genre. Sure, I guess. He will probably play with interactivity. It's very experimental for a AAA designer, which I really appreciate and admire, but yeah.
Kojima having the opportunity to kind of just go nuts and make something totally new and unique. He's saying in the press release that he's going to try and utilize their cloud gaming technology to take on the challenge of creating a very unique, immersive, and totally new style of game. And Kojima getting to do that is great. It's really nice that, you know, he has Death Stranding 2 in the works, and he's also getting to do this experimental thing. And I'm all about new IP, new experiences, and getting to try new things.
I think it's going to be a dating sim game. I actually saw that in chat. Somebody else brought that up in chat. It's going to be a dating sim. I was like, I don't think that's going to be right, but it looks fantastic. I don't know. I'm bought in. Just like it's just the character work. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's cool to know this is in development. Still a lot of mystery surrounding that one, but it's OD, Overdose. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced.
One of the big upsets maybe is that we got Overdose instead of Death Stranding 2.
That's right.
Because I think that was the one we were all expecting. Overdose seemed to be hiding in the background for the most part, but Death Stranding 2 ended up being a total no-show.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, oh, Death Stranding 2. Wait a minute.
This
no,
doesn't
it's
look
the
right.
other thing.
Yeah. One of the biggest reveals of the show was Blade.
Blade looks fantastic.
Well, okay, so, but to be fair, we just got a short little cinematic trailer. We've seen about as much of that as we have of Wolverine from Insomniac. But it's cool to know that that's coming. It's got a great pedigree of developers behind it from Arcane, and we know that it's going to be a mature game, and it's going to be third-person adventures. They're not doing first-person like Dishonored or what was the other one? It's the
Deathloop.
Deathloop, that one as well, yeah. I don't know, are you guys excited just to know there's a Blade game? We know it's early in development, but it's coming.
The fact that it's in development at Arcane is phenomenal. Everybody thinks they are, well, everybody that I've seen online has said, what a perfect match to make a Blade game. I'm very excited to see what they do with the character.
What do you think makes them perfect for Blade?
Well, it's just the way that they tackle encounters in a game and allowing you to go at them from how you choose to, because you can be like right in your face with characters, or you can do the stealth route. And Blade is a character that allows them to utilize that idea in a really, really strong way. And just as a side note, Xbox really brought a lot of great stuff.
Well, they said they're going to.
And yeah, they weren't kidding.
Yeah, Arcade Leon they're amazing at building these characters and these abilities and these combat systems that deal with these kind of supernatural elements. And Blade is kind of that perfect blend of like almost Dishonored style where you're still mostly human, but you've got these supernatural abilities. You can blink, you can dash. Like there's a lot of powers, and it's like celebrating Blade the 50th anniversary, perfect timing to unveil this one. The vibe, I'm loving the vibe, just the, whoever is voicing Blade, I think is doing a great job. Well, I'm gonna have to look up and figure out who that is, because I want to know.
Yeah, I don't know if that tells us it's not a well-known voice actor or not. Maybe they're just saving that for another reveal. We know from the official description that Blade will take players to a quarantined section of Paris in the middle of a supernatural emergency. Vampires have emerged, terrorizing the city of lights and forcing Parisians to shelter inside their homes at night to wait for sunrise.
I think that Arcane Leon has, both with the Dishonored series, but then also with Deathloop, has shown a real affinity for designing open-ended sort of sandbox action game experiences. And Deathloop, which came out a couple years ago, interestingly, I think maybe deserves more credit than it ultimately got for its vibes. It had some great vibes.
Yeah.
Real style. The tight design of the actual progression and the story. It's in a very confusing way, but they make it work surprisingly well for the players. And I'm really curious to see how they translate Blade into that open-ended kind of ethos that they have.
I mean, there's a lot of comics to pull from Blade. He's been part of multiple teams: Midnight Suns, the Night Stalkers. I believe it's called Night Stalkers. Don't at me. But yeah, there's just a lot of stuff to pull from Blade's history. I mean, the big question is Dracula going to be the big bad here? That's kind of the obvious person to be his main antagonist, but who knows? Arcane doesn't like to give us what we expect.
I was surprised to see that the Xbox logo is nowhere on this trailer, given that Arcane is under Bethesda and Bethesda is under Xbox. Does that tell us anything?
It could be something as simple as...
Because we know they just started development on this, so we wouldn't think this is a holdover from before they were bought.
Correct. It could be something as simple as they just expect everybody to know that, hey, we're part of Xbox, so we don't need to broadcast it.
Sure, but PlayStation puts their logo on all their first-party stuff.
It could also be another thing to where Marvel, we have things like MLB The Show, which is designed by a PlayStation studio and drops on both PlayStation and Xbox. So it could be something that Marvel said, hey, this needs to go more broad.
Except Wolverine isn't.
It's true.
Destin, what are your thoughts?
Maybe it's something as simple as they haven't worked out the details yet with Marvel, because we know, again, from those court documents with the FTC, that was a conversation they had to go to the studio heads with. So maybe they haven't landed on how Blade is going to be delivered to the audience when it comes out. Maybe it will be multi-platform. Xbox doesn't really mind allowing their games to release on PlayStation some of the time. So who knows?
But Xbox does still need exclusives. That's still an area that they're sorely lacking in.
I mean, we've still got a lot coming, though. There's a lot more.
That's true.
They've got Stalker 2, Fable, Hellblade 2. There's a lot of stuff Xbox is dropping, so maybe they don't need this as an exclusive. I welcome it as an Xbox exclusive, but I don't think they're hurting for exclusives as of right now for what they have in their line.
Yeah, they have Metaphor ReFantazio. How can you... Xbox console exclusive.
There you go.
I mean, if you start looking at even the stuff that we talked about on the pre-show, they have Avowed, that's exclusive. They have Hellblade. Hellblade was insanely impressive at this showcase. And they have exclusives coming next year. But it has been a criticism of the Xbox platform. And today, I think they showed up and said, hey, look, here's all the cool stuff that Xbox fans have to look forward to next year and into the future.
Well, speaking of PlayStation, they did have a few reveals of their own. And there's a new free mode coming to God of War Ragnarok next week. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is a rogue light mode where it's an epilogue to the events of Ragnarok, follows Kratos on a deeply personal and reflective roguelike journey, apparently. This is a nice surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that chair in the water, that throne in the water, I was like, oh, this is God of War. This is God of War DLC. I was not expecting to get it next week. It's dropping in 5 days. I'm I've been really like hooked on a bunch of roguelites, so I love that one of my favorite action games is now getting a roguelite mode. I'm going to lose so much time to playing this game because I like playing it on Give Me God of War, like difficulty that first time through was just a great test of my skill, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us.
Yeah, it's a different experience when you play on the harder difficulty settings. I also played on that, and it really forces you to pay attention to the characters, their move sets, the enemy move sets, and the abilities you have at your disposal. It also forces you to craft your build in a way where maybe you have that heal that is available to you, or you're paying more attention to your rage meter. And this one, having 5 difficulty settings, means a lot for players like us that are looking for that extra challenge level. And there's also story elements to look forward to.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's going to be a kind of a must-play for people who are really invested in God of War's lore. And I totally agree with all of you. I think the thing that really elevated God of War 2018 was how great its combat got at the highest levels, especially when you were fighting the Valkyries, for example. It was quite unforgiving with its timing patterns and being able to understand the actual movements of the enemies. So that gives me a lot of enthusiasm, I think, with this particular piece of DLC. The thing that I find really interesting is that The Last of Us is also getting a roguelite mode, and I really want to know what is the initiative that is happening in Sony right now. If I wanted to have a less charitable perspective on this, it's that maybe they don't have a ton in the first first half of the year, and this is their way of kind of shoring up their library a little bit.
Yeah, I am a little surprised that it's coming out so soon in December. Like they could have, well, I guess they would worry about colliding with Last of Us Part 2, which is also going to have that element, right? So it is a little surprised. We also got the Final Fantasy announcement, DLC coming there, but I mean, I still think PlayStation needed to bring more.
I agree. Yeah, the Final Fantasy 16, announcement of their 2 DLCs looked fantastic, and I'm very happy to be able to jump back into that world. Especially seeing as the first one is available tonight, which is really cool. I'm really hyped to see Leviathan, because Leviathan was one of the summons that we were missing in the game. Everybody who played through it, you get to one point and it's like, oh, Leviathan caused all this. And it's like, well, where's Leviathan? He's not in the game, but here we go. They were saving it for DLC. But yeah, and you know what? We surprisingly got very little of Rebirth tonight, which we got the musical number.
Musical number.
Musical number, and it had a cool trailer, and it showed off some new characters. Sid was spotted in it, which he hadn't been shown in the previous stuff, to my knowledge. I might have missed him previously, but I don't think we've seen him yet.
We got to see Vincent. We got to see Sid. And I just want to say, Jeff, if you're listening to me, the musical numbers in the Game Awards are consistently the best part of the whole dang show. The Alan Wake 2 musical number was fire.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they intermingled like cool new gameplay reveals. Like the Hellblade one had stuff in it. The Final Fantasy one had gameplay in it, and that was great. That was a really smart way to do it.
There's also a new Dragon Ball game announced, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero.
That looks fantastic. Yeah. You know, going back to my time playing Dragon Ball Fighters, and just seeing how good that game looked in their Marvel versus Capcom style 3-on-3 fighting. I was like, this is as close as we're gonna get, right? This is back when it launched. But this looks even better. Like, obviously, consoles have gotten better. We've got better graphics cards. Everything's getting stronger, so we're going to get better. But man, this looks immaculate when you're looking at it compared to the anime. Like, it's unreal how, and we've got tons of characters. There's characters that's leading all the way to the Super arc. We had Jiren, Bergamo, whole bunch of other people for the later things, and we also saw Piccolo's, the usual suspects, Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, my boy Krillin. Shout out to all the Krillin stands out there. Krillin is the strongest human in Dragon Ball world.
Yeah, and look forward to an interview conducted by Isaiah Colbert that'll be going up on IGN.com tomorrow. So we'll get maybe a little more information about it.
Definitely can't wait to read that.
Real quick before we take a quick break, you have about 30 seconds for any Monster Hunter celebrations you would like to initiate.
Man, I'm trying to remember my favorite taunt or emote from Monster Hunter, because that is, I'll talk more about it later, but Monster Hunter Wild, yes!
Let's go.
Yes. Cannot wait to to barbecue some more food and go hunt some more beasts.
No palamutes, alas, but I do like the idea of still being able to ride a land creature of some sort. It looks like I don't know, a dinosaur tauntaun, you might call it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Best co-op action game you're going right now.
Yeah.